My name is Paul011, and today we're going to be talking about the beautiful game, football, English football, as opposed to what they call football in America. They say soccer. I just want to clarify one or two points here between the United States, American football, and the rest of the world football. Although we do say soccer, but generally speaking, we say football. And that is this. The American idea of football is they wear this great big hat, they have these great big pads, and they have these great big things here. They're like, yeah. But the rest of the world, what do we wear to protect ourselves? To protect means to stop harm coming to us. Well, we have this is the shin, and we have these pads. They're called shin pads, and they guard the shin bone, which is here. That's what we have. Just to let you know, if you don't know already, obviously I am a fan of England, and but my great passion in football is, of course, Tottenham Hotspur. This is my team. This is the team I follow. The beautiful game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a bit bigger so we can have a look. Over the last 100 years, the game of football has totally changed the world of sport, media and leisure. Football is played worldwide by more than 1.5 million teams. Imagine. And 300,000 clubs. When I was teaching in Mexico, I taught at the Chivas football club. I taught some of the staff English there. Chivas is a very famous Mexican football club, and it's based in Guadalajara. And it's fantastic there, really. It's absolutely fantastic there. Anyway, back to this kind of football here. An amazing 8 out of 10 people in the world watch the World Cup. 8 out of 10 people watch the World Cup. That's amazing, don't you think? It is, as the great Brazilian footballer Pelé described it, the beautiful game. And that's what we're going to look at. And as you know, we're recording this in Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia are actually in the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Isn't that marvellous? And so are England. Now, how football began. Well, first of all, let's have a look at some of these pictures. Let's see what we've got here. Oh, look at that. There's Cristiano Ronaldo when he was playing for Manchester United. And I believe this is Fulham, isn't it? Fulham Football Club. Who's this player next to him? Let's move up here. Oh, look, here we have the Spanish flag. Spanish flag. And they're wearing green t-shirts. I don't know why. Perhaps that's the shirt of the club, the football club. Here we have some boys. It looks like South American kids playing football in the streets. Okay, let's have a look at this. How football began. As far back as 2500 BC, the Chinese played a kicking game called Su-Chu. Similar games were played by the Romans and North American Indians. In England, in medieval times, mob football was widely popular. In 1583, Philip Stubbs said of football players, sometimes their necks are broken, sometimes their backs, sometimes their legs, sometimes their arms. So this is medieval Britain, where everyone just got involved, but you had to be careful because you could easily break your leg. This man here's got an injury there, look at his face, he's in pain. So let's move along here. By the mid-19th century, with the help of English public schools, the game had become less violent. Each school had different rules for playing the game. On the playing fields of Eton, the ball was kicked high and long. At rugby school, the boys caught and ran with the ball. Problems arose when boys from the different schools went to the universities of Oxford and Cambridge and wanted to continue playing. This is from the description of a match played in Cambridge in 1848. The result was chaos, as every man played the rules he had been accustomed to at his school. It became common to play half a match by one side's rules, the second half by the others. That's how half-time came about. However, this was not good enough for the university men. They decided to sort out the rules once and for all. Mr. Liu, could you possibly read that final paragraph for me?
On Monday, October 26, 1863, they met at a cafe in London. By the end of the day, they had formed the Football Association, and a book of laws was on its way. The sticking point was whether a player could pick up the ball and run with it or not, and this was not decided until December 8th. From this decision, the games of both football and rugby were born.
Thank you. Let's move up here now. In Britain, a public school is where the parents would normally pay quite a lot of money to send their children to school. Whereas in America, I believe, a public school is where anyone can go. Let me just clarify that with my colleague. Lou, a public school in America, what's the definition?
Anyone can attend, it's government funded. They don't have to pay any tuition at all, the government pays for it.
It's a government funded school in America, anyone can attend. No tuition fees, that's a public school in the United States. It has the opposite meaning in Britain. The public school is where you actually pay, as opposed to the state schools where anybody can attend. And let's have a look. Lou, what happened at rugby school?
The boys caught and ran with the ball.
They did.
Yeah.
And how is that different from the public school of Eton?
The ball was kicked high and long.
So this is kicked. So when they kicked, at Eton, they kicked the ball high and long. And at rugby, they actually caught the ball and ran with it. Hence the name, or the sport, rugby. This actually came from the public school in Britain, Rugby. That was the name of the school in Rugby in Britain. And that's how they developed the game where they hold the ball, as opposed to kicking the ball. The result was chaos, as every man played the rules he had been accustomed to at his school. Mr. Liu, what do you think the writer means by this quotation here?
Looks like maybe a lot of people were running around and just not really looking as though they were following a certain kind of game plan.
Yeah.
As they were playing the sport.
They're just following the game plan according to their particular school.
Right.
This was why they had half-time. So it's quite strange. The first half, they played by that particular school's rules, and in the second half, they played by that particular school's rules. It's quite interesting. But they felt that this wasn't really a good idea. They wanted to put the whole thing together. So, let's go here. So what happened on Monday, October the 26th, 1863?
They met at a cafe, and they formed a football association and wrote the rules of their sports.
That's right. So now we'll look at football around the world. Mr. Liu, could you read about Europe, please?
Europe is home to the world's richest football clubs. Manchester United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Arsenal, Bayern Munich. These clubs are famous in many countries far away from their home grounds. Rickshaw pullers in Mumbai, tuk-tuk drivers in Bangkok, on discovering they have an English passenger respond with, "Ah, English, Manchester United. Do you know Manchester United?"
Yes, we know Manchester United. Now the thing here about these teams, it says Europe is home to the richest professional clubs. I do notice that they haven't included Tottenham Hotspur. This is quite obviously an oversight. An oversight is something they forgot to put in. They forgot about that. Because Tottenham Hotspur are also one of the richest football clubs in the world. It's true, they are. They're famous away from Britain. They're famous in different countries, like even in Mumbai, in India, Bangkok, in Thailand. People know about English football teams. And it is true, in particular, they do know about Manchester United. I won't say too much about that. So, what's a tuk-tuk driver, Lou? Do you know?
A tuk-tuk is like a very, very small taxi. It's almost like a motorcycle that has a large seat behind it for a person to ride.
Yes, that's right. Very good. South America. Would you like to read about South America?
South America has produced some of the most exciting soccer on earth. Many of the world's leading players have come from poverty to play on the world stage. They have been snapped up by wealthy European teams after making their mark at home. Brazil has won the World Cup 5 times, Uruguay 3 times, and Argentina twice.
Thank you very much. What does it mean that many of the world's leading players, what does it mean, leading players?
The best players.
The best players, yes, at the top of their game, yeah. And it says they've come from poverty. Come from poverty. What does that expression mean, Mr. Lou?
Their families didn't have a lot of money when they were growing up.
Yes, their families didn't have money when they grew up. And they went on to play on the world stage. What does that mean, Lou? World stage.
They went on to play for some of the most famous teams around the world.
Yes, that's true. Okay. And according to this, how many times has Brazil won the World Cup?
5 times.
5 times, okay, thank you. And which other teams listed here have won the World Cup?
Uruguay for 3 and Argentina for 2.
Yes, Uruguay 3 times, Argentina twice, oh, and England once. Please read about North America, Lou.
North America is the only continent where football, or soccer, as it is called to distinguish it from their hometown game, has become more popular with females than males. In 1991, the U.S. won the first Women's World Cup. Interest amongst American men has been growing since the World Cup in Los Angeles in 1994, and more recently since the arrival of international stars such as David Beckham.
Oh yes, that's interesting. David Beckham went to play there, yeah. It's popular.
He played for the LA Galaxy. He was a very famous, popular person when he was in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he's very, very popular in Britain, David Beckham.
Yes. Yeah.
His whole life changed around with that goal against Greece. Did you see it? Check it out on YouTube. Beckham's goal against Greece. You've got to have a look at that. What's a continent, Lou? What's a continent?
Continent is definition of a continent. What would that be? A group of countries that are all in a given area that are connected to each other. And I would guess it has to do something with the continental plates.
Yes, yes.
That shift.
Well, the magnetic plates, I suppose, but the continents, yeah, that's a landmass, yeah. Okay, let's have a look now. What else do we have here? Homegrown game. Oh, their homegrown game. What does that mean, Lou?
They're talking about American football, which is a game that became popular in the United States of America. Canada also has a football league of its own, and it was developed in America, and it's played basically only in America. I mean, every once in a while I think they have a game in Mexico City or a game in Europe, but for the most part football was a sport that was developed in America and is popular in America.
Thank you for that, Lou. In 1991, the US won the first Women's World Cup. It says interest amongst American men. What does it mean, interest?
The sport being popular among American men.
Okay, the sport being popular amongst the men, yeah. Asia, please tell us about Asia, Lou.
Over the past 2 decades, heated rivalry among Japan, China, and South Korea has increased the passion for soccer across the continent, especially after Japan and Korea co-host the World Cup in 2002. However, not all Asian countries share the passion. India and Pakistan prefer cricket.
Thank you for that. 2 decades, what's that, Lou?
20 years.
20 years, so a decade is 10 years. Heated rivalry, what does that mean? Heated rivalry, Lou?
Both sides really want to be the best, really want to beat the other side. So it's, it's healthy competition that goes to a real extreme.
Yes. Like the heated rivalry between Tottenham and Arsenal, yes. It's healthy competition where both sides want to win. You want to win, your team has to win against the other team. And there's this heated rivalry between Japan and China and South Korea. It says it's increased the passion. What is the passion? What does that mean, the passion?
It means that they really, really like it.
They really, really like it, yes, with their hearts. Who co-hosted the World Cup in 2002, Lou? Who co-hosted the World Cup in 2002?
Japan and Korea.
Japan and Korea, yes they did. Do India and Pakistan prefer football to cricket?
No, they prefer cricket.
Yes. So when you're in Asian countries, if it's a Pakistani or an Indian taxi driver, even here in Saudi Arabia, the first thing they say to me is, "Oh, you're from England?" And they start talking to me about cricket. I don't know anything about cricket. I don't. But they think I do because I'm from England. So I start to try to talk to them about football. If it's a Pakistani taxi driver, he has no idea about football. So we have a communication breakdown. Now, oh look, here we are, the Middle East. This is where we are. So perhaps you'd like to read that, Lou.
Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar have lately been investing huge sums of money in football. They've hired the best players and coaches that money can buy.
Okay. Lately, what does that mean, lately?
Recently.
Recently, yes. Maybe even yesterday or this morning. This is lately, recently. And investing, what does that mean, Lou? Investing.
Putting a lot of money into it.
Putting lots of money into it. Like, I believe this man from the Emirates has put a lot of money into Manchester City, so he's investing money. And at the moment now, they're building Tottenham Hotspur's new football ground, and there's been a huge investment from America, in particular the NFL. Now would you like to tell us about Africa?
Sure. Africa has produced a number of soccer superstars, but many of them have been lost to the rich European clubs. Africa is poor in resources, but rich in talent, with thousands of gifted young players dreaming of big-time football. South Africa's hosting of the 2010 World Cup was very important for African football.
Yes, it was. What's a soccer superstar? What's that?
One of the very best players in the world.
Yeah. Have been lost to. What does that phrase mean? Have been lost to.
They've gone to play for the rich European clubs and not the African clubs.
Yes, they've gone to play for the richer European clubs as opposed to their own home African clubs. Africa is poor in resources. What does that mean, poor in resources?
Maybe they don't have a lot of oil resources compared to the Middle East, or a lot of mining resources compared to what you might find in Russia, but they do have a lot of people who are gifted athletes.
Very good, yeah, thanks for that, yes. So possibly they don't have a lot of minerals, a lot of oil, but they do have a lot of gifted athletes, yeah, as Mr. Lou says. So, Lou, would you like to read that for me, please?
Full of passion. The game of football is played in every nation on earth, not only by the 120 million regular team players, but also by countless others on beaches, in playgrounds, and streets. The world's love of football is simple. It's because football is simple. All there's needed is a ball, a piece of ground, and 2 posts. The world's greatest players, George Best, Diego Maradona, and Pele, all learned their skills on race grounds. These are the places where the sport is born and why football has become a global passion.
Thank you very much, yes. So it talks about where football's played. Apart from the regular team players, Mr. Luke, where else is football played?
All over the world, it's like, right? Countless other beaches, playgrounds, streets.
Yeah, on beaches, in playgrounds, on streets. I'm sure we've all played a little knockabout with football on the beaches in Spain when we were over there on holiday. So what do you need for football? If you want to play a game of football, what do you need?
A ball, some ground, and 2 posts.
That's it. A ball, some ground, and 2 posts. That's it. We've got some of the world's greatest players. George Best. George Best, as the name says, best. For me, he really was the best. I've seen him play against Tottenham. He always scored against Pat Jennings. Do you know that? Without fail. We knew, whilst we were standing on the shelf, that George Best would score against Pat Jennings. And the reason I pointed out is because at that time, both Pat Jennings and George Best both played for Northern Ireland. Diego Maradona. Now here's an interesting fact, which you might not know. Diego Maradona actually played for Tottenham Hotspur. Yes, he did. He played in Ardiles testimonial. And then, of course, the one and only Pele. I think they've missed out Eusebio. Let's go here. A lot of them, they learned their skills on waste grounds. What does that mean, Lou? Waste grounds?
I would think of that as areas where they're not farming plants, they're not building buildings, they're just kind of like plots of land in the middle of nowhere that aren't being used for anything other than playing football.
So, after having read about this, I know that football is not as big in America as it is in Britain. I'm talking about soccer for our American friends. But Lou, why do you feel that football or soccer has taken off so fantastically? I mean, it's become such a global passion with so many nations. Why do you think that is?
Because anyone can participate, so people can all enjoy the sport. They also like to watch the sport. Maybe they see a football game that motivates them to want to play football themselves for a while for exercise. It's something that you can do in the richest parts of the world, the poorest parts of the world. You can play on the beach, you can play in waste grounds, you can play in playgrounds, you can play on the street. You can play the sport anywhere in the world.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can play anywhere in the world. So now we're going to take a look at the questions related to this particular section in the book. What about football? They say you either love it or you hate it. What's your feeling on football? I'm talking about English football, well, worldwide.
Honestly, I mean, I don't love or hate football. I mean, maybe a few times a year I would play it. Every once in a while, if I'm at the gym or something and it's on TV, I'll watch a little bit of it. But it's not something I really avidly follow. I mean, I would say I don't love it or hate it. I'm just, I'm fine with it. It's not my favorite sport, but I don't think it's a terrible sport either.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. So how many famous football players can you name?
David Beckham.
Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Messi. I can think of some historical ones like Pele, Maradona, Rivaldo, and Cody Jones. That's about it. Like I said, I'm not a really avid football fan, so I hear the major names. That's about it.
Okay, well I can name some. Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Ardiles, Hoddle, Gareth Bale. Now it's 2017. Here's my prediction for 2018. Gareth Bale will return to Tottenham Hotspur. Watch this space. Now, let's have a look at this. What statistics are given about the beautiful game? Can you remember?
Off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I have to look back at the past.
Okay.
Pick up the numbers.
Let's have a look. What about here? It says, football is played worldwide by more than 1.5 million teams and 300,000 clubs. Are you surprised by that?
1.5 million teams is an awful lot of teams. 3,000 clubs. I would say, yeah, that does seem like an awful lot.
And also, 8 out of 10 people watch the World Cup.
That actually is extremely surprising to me. 8 out of 10 people doing anything.
Yeah.
Does seem pretty surprising, yeah.
I remember some years ago in the, we had what was known as the home internationals, when we played different teams, like we would play Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and then it went on to these European clubs we would play. I can't remember what the competition was, but everybody was watching this England game. I can't remember who they were playing, it might have been Holland. And I was walking through central London. It was completely empty. And I walked around Trafalgar Square. There was nobody there. And because I looked at that figure, I thought, people won't believe this figure, but trust me, it's true. When the World Cup's on, or any major competition, everybody watches. They all watch it. Yeah. So it's a global passion. Let's go up here. You said Ronaldo. Which team does Ronaldo play for? You were talking about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Real Madrid.
Yeah, and you said Beckham played for LA Galaxy. What about George Best? Who did he play for?
I don't know, sorry.
He played for Manchester United.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move along now. How did football become known as the beautiful game? How did it become known as the beautiful game? Do you know?
I see it at the bottom.
Yeah, you can see that. It was Pelé.
Pelé called it the beautiful game.
Yeah, Pelé described it as the beautiful game. So if you're wondering, it was Pelé who coined the phrase, the beautiful game. Let's go back here. In what ways is football a simple game? In what ways is football a simple game? Well, what do you need to play football?
A ball,
a ball,
and 2 posts.
Piece of land, ground, 2 posts. Very simple. Which famous players are mentioned? Well, I think we've done it already. We've been through that, George Best, etc. Let's move on. Oh, do you want to see this? Let's have a look at the key. Let's find out anyway, just to check. So 1.5 million teams worldwide, 300,000 clubs, 8 out of 10 people watch the World Cup, 120 million regular team players. The Brazilian football player Pelé called it that. The beautiful game. All you need is a ball, a piece of ground, and 2 posts. So it was a very simple game. Famous players, George Best, Diego Maradona, Pelé, they all learned their football skills on waste ground. You know, in the backyard, in the street, across, maybe there's some piece of land somewhere. Okay, let's get rid of that. What was Sushu? What was Sushu?
I need to remind that again.
Well, I think it was football that was played by the Chinese many years ago. That's what I think. Let me just have a look at that. As far back as 2500 BC, the Chinese played a kicking game called Sushu. Which nationalities were the first to play a kind of football and when? Which nationalities were the first to play a kind of football and when was it?
I would need to be reminded again.
Okay, let's have a quick look. Similar games were played by the Romans and North American Indians. In England, in medieval times, mob football was widely popular, and in 1583, Philip Stubbs said of footballers, sometimes their necks get broken, sometimes their legs get broken, sometimes their arms. There's this chap here, look, he looks like he's in pain. He's got a broken leg by the look of it. Okay, let's go across here. What images do you have of mob football? What about mob football? What kind of images does it conjure up in your mind?
I would think of people who are just running around trying to kick the ball. They're not playing actual positions.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of organization. They're not trying to do certain kinds of plays and passing the ball to each other. I would just think of like a lot of chaos when people are all trying to kick the ball and that's it.
Yeah, that's about it. Very good. Yes, lots of people all at once trying to kick the ball. Quite dangerous, actually. How was the game played at English public schools? How was the game played at English public schools?
Very correctly, they had issues with some people wanted to pick the ball and run with it, like in rugby. Other people wanted to only kick the ball, like in what we in America call soccer. And then they had to come up with a certain agreement, right?
Yeah.
Their own rules that they came up with.
Exactly. Yeah. So this public school would play the first half by their rules, and this public school would play by their rules. And it could be that they would actually pick it up. Okay. What caused chaos when the boys tried to play football at university? What caused chaos when the boys tried to play football at university?
Was it disagreements with the rules? Maybe I need to be reminded again.
Okay, let's have a look.
Well, there we have, each school had different rules for playing the game.
Yeah. The result was chaos as every man played the rules he had been accustomed to at his school.
Okay.
So yeah, it was quite problematical by playing different sets of rules. Okay, let's go there. It says here, how did the idea of half-time start? Well, I can tell you. It was to do with these rules. Instead of playing a complete 90-minute game, they said, okay, the first 45 minutes, we'll play our rules, then we'll have a break for 10 minutes, and then we'll play your rules in the second half. And that's how the two halves began. Otherwise, if they'd played by the same rules, it would have just been for 90 minutes. So that's how the half-time rule came about. Su Chu, that was a Chinese kicking game. Early types of football, the Romans and North American Indians played a kicking game. In the 1500s, the English played mob football. Mob football was probably very fast and violent with no rules. Players did anything to get the ball and often got injuries and broken bones. Each school had different rules for playing the game. At Eton, the ball was kicked high and long. At rugby school, the boys caught the ball and ran with it. Each player followed the rules that he was used to. It was common to play half the match by one side's rules and the second half by the others, as we just said. The men who loved football met at a London cafe to sort out the chaos. And they formed the Football Association and started the Book of Laws. The sticking point was whether you could pick up the ball and run with it. Mr. Lou, what does it mean, sticking point?
It was a matter of contention between two parties.
So it was a problem between two different sides, and but eventually they sorted this problem out. When one side doesn't agree, the other says, oh, I don't know, it's what they call a sticking point. They're stuck. They're stuck on that point. They're stuck on that problem. And once this was decided, rugby was born. It was decided you couldn't pick up the ball in football, but you could in rugby. So that's how they settled the dispute. They said, okay, in football, you don't pick the ball up. In rugby, you pick the ball up. So they developed two separate games from this. Now, let's see if we can complete these sentences with the name of the continent. What continent do you think goes here? has become more enthusiastic about football since the 2006 World Cup?
Africa?
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure. Let's see. I remember they said the World Cup was in LA in 1994. I think they said that Japan and Korea hosted it in 2010. Is that correct?
Well, let's have a look.
Now, 2006, I need a reminder. Yeah, there it is. For North America, LA in 1994, Asia in 2002, Australia. They qualified for the 2006 and 2010 World Cups.
Yes, so the answer to that one looks as though it's Australia. Let's go down here. The next one. Has the wealthiest football clubs in the world.
That's in the Middle East. They were talking about investing in football. Maybe.
Yeah. Not all countries have a passion for football.
Maybe North America?
Yeah. What do I have here? And often lose their most talented players to rich European clubs. But it'll be in Africa, isn't it?
Africa and maybe South America?
Yeah. In something, football has become more popular with girls than boys.
In America, USA, North America.
Now we're just going to have a quick look at the key. Oh, what's happened here? Oh, anyway, so I don't know what happened there. So we've got Asia, South America, Africa, North America. Like we were saying, we're talking about more popular with women and girls, football, North America. These countries lose their top players, often lose their top players to European clubs. These are people from South America and Africa. Europe, South America and Africa are most enthusiastic. Asia and Australia are the least enthusiastic. It's called soccer to distinguish it from the Americans' own game, which is American football, which is called football. For us, football is football, okay? It's not American football, that's different. The European clubs have a lot of money to buy the best players. North America, in 1991, the US won the first Women's World Cup. Whoa! And the World Cup was in Los Angeles in 1994. Asia, Japan and Korea co-hosted the World Cup in 2002. Australia, they have qualified for the 2006 World Cup. Africa having qualified for 2010 World Cup in South Africa. And it's important for African football because it brings in a lot of revenue. A lot of revenue is a lot of money. Any questions? No? Okay then. Well, on that note, I'd like to thank you for attending my class today. Here at Al Jazeera International Academy. We were looking at a unit from the Headway Plus Intermediate, Unit 10, I believe it was. So anyway, I know that you're going to really improve with your English language studies, and I wish you the very best of luck with that. Thank you so much for attending this demonstration lesson. Thank you very much.